Aboriginals growing up in Australia is an extraordinary work that can be used as a collection of public history, and to a certain extent, it is also difficult and heartbreaking reading. The author, Anitia Hayes, she collects various stories that reflect the diversity of societies in which indigenous people live and participate every day. Many contributors to these stories are published for the first time. It includes tragic stories related to suicide as well as motivating and inspiring stories. There are stories from missionaries and reserve teams, as well as people belonging to stolen generation and communities in remote areas of Australia and so on. Each story is unique and is closely related to becoming an Aboriginal Australian and talking about the understanding of ancestral property or inheritance of memory and identity. This constitutes part of Australian history, is also a part of thousands of years of history of this land. As contributors have generous and briefly disclosed their personal and family history, their pain and heartache, and racist experience, so that others can understand what it means to grow up as a native in a country usually regarded as a second nation. These experiences profoundly affect themselves, their families, and their feelings of growing up and being identified with Australian Aboriginals. So, Australia is a diversity nation, and this is exactly the meaning of growth of Australian Aborigines today. The pain caused by this angry and heartbreaking racism in the Australia settlers' culture on children is saddened. Some children were told that they were not only not black enough to become Aboriginals and too black to bring into the mainstream. For example, a girl named Aralun reflects on how her identity has changed from primary school to high school, and how her classmates call her shade skin and abo when learning. Well, Alice's story talks about the relationship between the two worlds and how suicide is common in the community and young people. And she suicided when she was 28, which is really sad. From 1869, the stolen generation who was forced to take their children away from their parents had a disastrous effect on the pain, spreading the pain to each generation if they can reestablish their contact. Some contributors have experienced racism of knowledge and ideas. This is so deep that it is difficult to explain to anyone what it means to grow up as a native without their expectations. On the other hand, contributors also include famous writers, thinkers, and activities, and community leaders, young people, and elder people from different countries. So on every Australian bookshelf, there is a great need for indigenous people who grew up in Australia, which will challenge and impress every reader who opens it. Teachers can share their advice in book with students. We cannot assume that we know or share what it means until Australia can grew up some indigenous people because racial discrimination is a kind of like a disease that is widespread in today's society, and it not only affects children in schools but also affects adults in society. From this book, we can understand the importance of proper language in the classroom and the necessity of culturally inclusive classrooms. Although these stories introduce many pains in details, I hope that this situation will have positive changes and development in the future. We hope that with the help of various teachers, we can support and guide the indigenous children on how to maintain their rightful place in this country and the world, instead of continuing to resonate with the tragedy in the book and be overwhelmed.